about,
Deep ass voice.
Uh, in this corner, we have Ankh West. Um,
oh my God.
and in this corner, we have Byron and Leondre. Ding, 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 ding. What was the topic? Where were we at though? We was talking about y'all. Are y'all continuing that right now?
What
The
a nigga
West Africa.
on, man. What we
I mean,
on,
we
bro? Let's
could, but
do
then
that,
they're
man.
gonna start. They're gonna start on us, and
I
we
just
were
don't
just
want y'all to
talking
scream.
about.
I would love the conversation. I want to hear it. I don't want y'all to yell at each other.
Yeah, that's the
Hey,
thing. Look,
Ben.
see, look, we don't
Yeah.
have. Look, listen, I'm telling you, I ain't gonna
Oh
do it. I'm
my
not gonna do it. What we doing?
God.
What we
This
doing?
is pissing me off.
Hey,
What
Ben.
Yes,
When
sir.
once I done looked at sources, yo, and they got to go ahead, yo, I just sit back and let niggas overwhoop their position, yo.
Over whooping. I just learned
And
that.
you know I know what it is, yo.
over whoop
Man.
was crazy.
I
And
already
then
know
once
by
I
the sound of your
realized,
voice how shit
realized,
gonna
what's
go.
his name again? What's his name, yo? Leondre.
Leondre,
No,
What's
that's
his
Slim.
name?
crazy.
Once I realized, listen, once I realized he really can remember shit, then I'm cool. Then I know I got him now. Because now he
Oh
can't
my
act like he
God.
ain't understand. See? He can't act like he ain't understand.
Yeah,
See?
nigga, memory definitely on 10. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yep, I like
But
that.
Everything is
I
on
thought I
10.
remember something.
You be on
He
10.
went to the next part of the car. I was like, bet all that fit well. We good. There you go. I like that.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Love that shit.
yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
listen, I'm a different nigga, boy. I'm trying to tell you, boy.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
different nigga.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hood.
Yeah,
Y'all
okay.
is
All right.
wild. So we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah.
researching this topic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
We need to all research the topic,
Yeah.
right?
So since I'm gonna
We just
research it, I needed something to do anyway.
Okay, look.
It
Okay,
was
look. Right.
fun.
So first things first. Right. So boom. Let's
tell the
talk
truth.
about boom. Let's talk about what's entailed in
Why
research.
are you
Let's.
saying
Can we start
boom?
there?
Okay, wait. No,
Boom.
first I need to know the question. I don't
No,
care
I'm
about
saying no.
that.
Before we know the question.
I already know what all that is.
No, no,
What's
no.
the
Well, I know you
question?
do. I know you do because you got your degree and you know every fucking thing.
Don't know. Shut the fuck. He watched too many movies. Go ahead.
Since you got your degree. But no, no, seriously though, because this becomes, I think, one of the crux of the issues, right? Is how to research, right? And again, and by the way, well, I ain't gonna go there, but listen, but yeah, it's important. How do we conduct research? Like what's the first thing? Like when we say, I don't care what the topic is that I want to research this topic. What I need to do? What's the first step? Everybody but Byron.
I would say understand research methodology first of all. It's the
Exactly. Yeah,
first
that's
thing
what
you
I'm
do.
asking. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, what
Yeah,
is research
understand that,
methodology?
and then the literature on the subject, and do a literature review. That's the first thing you
Well,
do,
that's what I
and
said.
then
But what do
I'm
you mean
telling
literature
you,
on the subject? What,
you
what
what
What do you mean by literature on the subject?
you find as much literature as you can on pre-colonial West Africa,
By whom?
right?
Like that's what I'm saying. Like what
By
kind? Like
by scholars, by the trusted scholars in that particular field.
cool. So what we can establish right now is right is that first things first, right? It's going to be a proper research methodology, right? At least one part of
Mm-hmm.
it is going to be getting things credible from scholars, right? And so when we look at people, this is going to be in large part about the credentials because we want a reliable producer of information, right? But see, but beyond that, right? So that's certain kind of literature. What else do we need? Like if I'm gonna do research, what other kind of literature do I need?
Man, you
Well, I
said
mean,
on
if the topic is history, right? If the topic is history, what is the primary medium for the historian interested in doing history? It's not going to be scholar. It's not going to be scholarly work on it, right? That's going to be part of it, right? Uh, that's certainly going to be part of it, right? And when you do historiography, you do a lit review, right, which is what a historiography is. You look to see what the treatment is in the subject by the people writing the subject. But what else do I need?
I
Like
know
if
for
it's
me,
history, what do
I
I
know
need?
for me, I get the aid of research librarians. So I go to places where you can research and get the help of the aides that's in that particular
Hmm.
thing. They're gonna get you to what you need to get to. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
see,
books that you're gonna have to order that you can't get nowhere but from the research library, right? And you're gonna
right?
have to let them know before you get there what you want. and that's how we working, yo. Like that's how I'm working. I can't explain how everybody else works.
Yeah, so look, see, because when you're on graduate level and like up stuff, right? One of the things you got to do, especially if you're dealing in the topic of history, right? Because like when you go to like research libraries and stuff, most of the stuff you're gonna be getting is gonna be secondary literature, right? Scholarly treatment on the subject. But what you also need in that is you're gonna need primaries, right? Especially when dealing with the topic of history. Yeah. So when we're doing that, right? Because history, the primary thing when you're doing history in the field of history, the number one thing that you're going for is documents. You need documents. You can go to the auxiliaries of history, but the main thing the historians are using to make their case, anything in history, is going to be primary source material. All of the scholars, every scholar who produces the work, they're not producing scholarly work based on other people's scholarly work unless they're doing a response to it, right? Especially in the field of history, everyone is looking, right. So like if we're looking at the history of I don't know, the history of the Civil War, right? If it was the history of the Civil War, we're looking at different speeches of whomever, right? We want to know, like, and that's what we're trying to do. We're going to primaries to figure out the cause. We secondary material, that's cool, but you know what I'm saying, and you use it, and that's cool and that's awesome. But one of the main things too is that you're gonna need is you want to know what the primary source material says as well, because and so that's the thing. So the primary thing in history is not archaeology. You can use archaeology. The primary thing is not going to be biology, biological studies. You can use that, right? You can do genome studies, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is cool, and you can use it as auxiliaries of history. But the main thing is going to be primary source material. That's it. So graduate level and up, that's what you're doing. Undergraduate level, it's going to be a lot of scholarly opinion. But when you're doing when you enter into that field of being a scholar, primary source material, do you have a contingent? And then what are you adding to the conversation on this sort of thing? And then what do the documents tell you about what your claim is? So that's the next step we got, right? And then when we talk about the research methodology, right, there are methods that keep you inside of doing history or put you outside of doing history, right? So watch this. So what historical method are we using? What historical method are we using over here in the West? What's the one we're using?
Talking to me? Who you talking to?
Hmm?
Who you talking to?
That's a general question. Anybody can answer. Again, everybody but Byron. Okay, so we're going to use the historical critical method, right? And so we want to try to compile sources, right? Multiple people groups, right? As much that we cover the topic. And this is why in the field of history, we give a nod to people like Herodotus and Thucydides, right? As these great fathers and champions of history and the historical method, like especially with Thucydides and his history of the Peloponnesian War. He's praised for that work because of the fact that he was on one side of it, right? But he was compiling things from multiple places, multiple locations. And so you can use that sort of thing to give yourself a robust picture, right? And it's not to say that you can't ascertain things if you only have one side of it. It just means that you can be more certain about what actually took place in the past if you have things from other people. As we say in the field of history, and there's a whole work on this, and the work is called "The Past is a Foreign Country," because what we're doing is we're trying to recount that we weren't there for, we didn't see. So we need
going on with them shit.
woohoo.
Huh? Oh, I'm talking to myself, Leondre. I'm
If you do
crazy.
that, people gonna think you're crazy.
It's too late.
But yeah, so we want to try to compile things from different places, different locations, right? From different points of view. We don't. They don't always have to be enemies and things like that, right? But the more material that you end up having that speak to a subject, the more likely that it is that it's historical, right? So if I get 4 or 5 people who witness an event, right, to testify that the same thing happened, right? If I get testimony from them that the same thing happened, that means that it's more likely to be historical because there's multiple people attesting to it, right? Same thing is used even in studies, New Testament historical studies about Jesus. The criterion of multiple independent witness attestation is what it's called. And it says you got multiple people testify to it, it increases the probability that it actually happened. It doesn't work the opposite way, that if only one person testifies to it, that the event didn't happen, right? It just, the likelihood goes up if you have multiple people saying it, right? So we got like a really good basic framework, right? So if we apply this to the topic at hand, right? The subject of Christianity in pre-colonial West Africa, right?
Uh-huh.
Should we grab scholars who've written on the topic? Should we do that?
You got to get scholars that they wrote on the subject.
Cool. So then we get scholars wrote on the subject, right? And then we go check, and then
Mhm.
we grab source material. We start grabbing primary source material to see what are the primary sources tell us about this, right?
Primary, secondary, tertiary. You can get that too. You can get secondary sources.
And
that's when y'all use them herbs, right? That's gonna be a daggone secondary source right there.
No, that wouldn't be a secondary source by definition.
You got to translate it.
Well, now watch this. If anybody goes to Owl at Purdue right now, right? If you look at the difference between a primary and secondary source, a translation doesn't make it no longer a primary source. When I read an English text of the Bible, it's still a primary source. It's not a secondary source because it's been translated. Translated just means that I've given it now. I've given the same thing.
So what did you say before that? You said if you go to where?
I said if I go to Owl at Purdue, OWL, and then at Purdue, the institution. They'll give you a breakdown of primary, secondary sources, right?
Right.
So just because it's translated doesn't mean it's no longer a primary. It's primary because of its perspective on it, its proximity and its perspective on it. But having it be translated, that's not a secondary source. That's primary.
Okay. I stand corrected on that. So okay. So let me say this. So now, what I did was I got a person, Arabic speaker that could read Arabic. Actually the sources, and now he's going to add the cultural context to it. So certain words that y'all may have been using and think is meaning Christian and not necessarily is applying to a true Christian, but a person is other than a Muslim. But you would understand it's based off the nuances and you're just understanding the basic language itself. So a lot of those people that was using those sources was misrepresenting what those Muslims were saying based off of them not having a proper cultural context. It's the same thing people do when it comes to Nile Valley culture and reading Egyptian text. They will make the statement that the Egyptians called themselves black, but they don't understand that based off the cultural context, they couldn't have been that. The culture wasn't holding that, wouldn't have been that. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's some mistakes in those primary sources that I think I got with that. That's what I'm saying.
Now, cool. Now, on that note, right? Let's go back to the first one we talked about, scholarly support. You're referencing what's their credentials in Arabic?
I mean, y'all got the source. I gotta go grab it. I got my notes. I would have to go grab that. Are you saying my person?
Yeah, your person.
They read Quran, Arabic. They can read the Arabic. I know people that can read fluent Arabic.
Yeah, which dialect? And
they know the language and the culture.
Yes,
they understand the language culture.
Which dialect of Arabic do they speak from which period of time? Medieval Arabic, modern Arabic. Which one are they?
Because it definitely changes. But they can read the sources that's in Arabic, and I will go get my notes, not tonight, right? Because I'm downstairs, and I will tell you that. But you're absolutely right. There's different, languages change, just like English and Old English, and that's in the game. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So again, so on that note, right? So what if, and I want you, and you just tell me where we go from here, right? If we have multiple scholars who are credentialed in Arabic, right, and particularly in this sort of Arabic under review, right, and this is before we get into the actual word, right? From a credibility standpoint, if we have multiple PhDs, right, because this is the first thing we mentioned. We have multiple PhDs saying that this is what the word means, right? And then you have your one person who's not credentialed in Arabic, right? Which of those, from a logical standpoint, right? It's called advocundum. Look up advocundum. It's Latin for the particular type of logical principle being used here. But which of those people is going to be more credible? The scholars who are credentialed in the Arabic language saying that it says this, or your source? Which of those two?
We're gonna go with the credential. We're always going to pick the credential.
Yeah.
Right.
So watch this. So for example,
Byron, we challenge the field with the credential. We don't challenge the field with people that's outside the field.
Yeah. So Byron, you still on the call?
Take your take.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Now with that said, now with that said, Byron, with the person who we've seen photographs of a PhD in Africa, right, reading the particular word in question, right, and he opens up the book, he has his finger on it, right, but he takes a picture with the tribe who had it and everything, right? Is that person that we're referencing, who translated the word, is he an expert in this language?
Yes.
Does he have a curriculum vitae, right? And for anybody, it's kind of like a resume, but it's one that you use in academia. Does he have a curriculum vitae that is as long as my arm? Bachelor's, master, PhD, like multiple masters, like the whole nine, right? So this person that we're making reference to went over there to the place. We have photographs of him with the document. He has his finger directly on it, right? He went and got the document from the primary source, from the tribe that had it, right? And he showed us. So for us, what we have on what we have is scholars who are credentialed in the area, and in which case there's multiple lines of evidence too. And so, and this is another criteria that we didn't go over. We have multiple lines of evidence pointing this direction. So it's not just a one-off letter, but it's not just a one-off letter, right, or a word. So for me, I feel more confident leaning to the experts in Arabic, right, who are credentialed experts in Arabic, right?
Jerry, can I add in one thing too?
Oh, absolutely, yes, sir.
Not just Arabic. As you know, Arabic has many different dialects in different time frames. Specifically in this case, medieval West African Arabic.
Yes, specifically, right? And watch this, and remember that comes in when we talk about the culture and context conversation, right? How are those people using that, right? How are those people using that term, right? And then outside of that, right? That word Naswari or Nasar, right? That word, what is it? Let's just look at let's look at where the word derives from, right? And again, we don't want to just go with etymology, right? Because we can talk about the usage by those people at that time, right? So we talk about the definition, but etymologically, what is that word connected to? Did your friend tell you what that word is connected to?
So you talking to me?
Yes, sir.
No, I said I don't got my notes. No.
Well, the reason I asked is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but we do know there's definitely some problems with the word. And I think based off of what y'all reading and studying, I do recognize that. And so it could mean Christian, but it also could mean people that are non-Muslims. Anybody outside of being a Muslim would actually fall into that category. So we just want to make sure we when we talking about it, we gotta say it.
Okay, now watch this. And so this is a question I want you to go back to your friend. You come back to me with, right? Now there's a scholar by the name of Al-Jalad, Aljallad, and he has translated and transcribed multiple inscriptions from Arabia, from the Arabian Peninsula, just as a whole. Where can I find this word in Arabia being used for anyone who's a non-Muslim? That's my question. So please ask your friend. Let's look at the way the Arabs were using the word. Like his name is Al-Jalad. If you look at the stuff on academia.edu, you can pull up multiple pieces of his research, but he has entire things on descriptions of the Quran. I've read through them. I've read through a number of them. I haven't read through this entire. I've read through a number of them. I haven't come across this word being used for non-Muslims. Usually they have other words that used for non-Muslims, right? Infidel, things like that, right? And like in English translation, it's usually come across like non-believer, that kind of stuff. And then let's look across the Arabian Peninsula as a whole and see where can we see this word being used. Let's ask your friend, right? Let's say we want to use him as a source. Does he have primary source material to support the claim that it means anyone non-Muslim? So I'm giving an entire region, the Arabian Peninsula. Can he show inscriptions where this word is being used for anyone who is a non-Muslim? Okay. I want to know from that same friend, and hopefully you're taking notes. I want to know from that same friend about words like like what we translate like infidel and things like that, right? Like when we come across words like non-believers and stuff, those are the typical words, and we see this even in the Quran. The Quran doesn't go to the word Naswari or Nasari to describe a person who's a non-Muslim. And this is why I asked the question I asked before. When we talk about this issue of whether or not the word means that, right? Let's look at again where it came from. Now, so I want you to ask your friend this too, and I want to ask you: does the word have a connection to like the word Nazarene, right? Right, which is like one of the names, like even for like early Christian groups, like followers of the Nazarene and followers of like that kind of thing. So if the word is connected to that, right, it seems to have a history pointing to Jesus, right? So is that the case that it comes from that word, right? Is that the etymological root for it, right? Is that where they got that from to refer to that region where Jesus was from, right? And then two, I want to know at what point in time did this, if it didn't, then hey, fine, right? But I want you to ask your friend that, and I'm hoping to get asked for you. And if it did, this is for your friend, not you. What point in time did it start being used for anyone non-Muslim? What year was this? Like, when do we see that shift to where it became like, I don't know, where the denotation changed to where it starts to mean anyone non-Muslim? That will be my question for your friend. So one, ask him, did this come from Nazarene? And then two, if it did come from that, right? If he's going to say that the usage later became something to denote anyone non-Muslim, it could be a Christian, but it cannot be a Christian. When did that become the case?
Got you. I'm taking notes on that.
Yes, sir.
Got you. I got that noted. Got you.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
so now,
and believe me, I look forward to your response. And I'm done now. You can. The floor is yours.
So I would ask you a question based off your research methodology. At this point, y'all can just let the cat out the daggone bag and just say, yeah, they may have been some traitors. They may have been some missionaries, but Christianity definitely wasn't widespread enough to the point where you could even remotely recognize it, to the point where it would affect African Americans that came to America.
Yeah. So
if y'all just say that, then I'm cool. Then I'm like, all right, yeah.
Well, let me answer that back. I just want to say that from the beginning, there were no claims made about how substantial of a presence it was. There were no statements made about that from jump. So for us, and let me just speak for me, and maybe Byron can speak for himself, but let me just say for me, from a logical standpoint, that seems a bit like a red herring. Now, to your question, though, let me answer the question. Now, like I said, it's off topic because it wasn't the claim.
But actually response though. It was a response to something I said, and I gotta go back over the conversation because you actually know what was said.
Yeah, I do. I know what was said.
Yeah.
So
it was kind of used as a way to combat the same way Vince Bantoon do it. He tried to make it seem like my great grandmother learned some kind of form of ancient Christianity. It's fucking ridiculous at a certain point.
Yeah.
No, she never learned that. She never seen that. And even if it was proper on what you're saying, it didn't affect us African Americans. That has always been the point, though.
Yeah. So
it's good to know. You get my point, right? Like,
I got you. Yeah. Yes. So two things to say about that. One, Christianity must have been substantial enough. If it's being testified, its presence is being testified to by Roman Catholics, by Muslims, and by Africans. And Africans, speaking of non-Muslim, like non-Muslim Africans. So if
right,
I'm sorry,
talking pre-1400s, correct?
Yes, pre-1400s, yes, because in the primary source material, you have statements. And so one, if you have something, and this is where, like, when you start talking about certain legends and things like that, right? For the historian, the main thing that we're concerned with is causation. We're concerned with causation. So where it's a diachronical analysis of causation, meaning that we're trying to figure out what caused what over time. So when we look at something like a legend, and this is what Byron was getting at in his video, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but what scholars and historians are looking at if you start talking about like legends, like Christian legends and things like that, right? What would be the reason for a Christian legend where there's supposed to be no Christianity? And this is without bringing up any primary source material testifying to the presence of Christians, right? From Muslims, from Roman Catholics, right? Who are in the region and saying there's Christians over there. But so from the perspective of like the legend of Prester John, what's the cause of Christian legends coming about in a place where it's supposed to be no Christians? How do they know anything about it to where Christian legends can develop? So those are the sorts of questions that we have to ask about causes. So that becomes another line of evidence in favor of there being Christians there, because the best explanation for that from a historical perspective is that there were some Christians there. Even if you say Prester John was probably not a real person, but they clearly knew about some Christian missionaries and Christian dealings and that kind of stuff, that becomes something that becomes a very likely explanation. It's the most reasonable one. Or we think that they just hallucinated, came up with the idea and concept of Christians, right? So there's that. The other thing is that from the primary source material, what we have is statements and testimony about Christian kingdoms there. So it must have been substantial enough that you have entire Christian regions that are being talked about by people who would have naturally been enemies of Christianity, right? Or people who would have favored Christianity being there and who would have loved the credit for taking Christianity there. But if they get over there and they say, hey, we went in there, man, there was already Christians in there. Those are sorts of things that say, what's the most likely explanation for all of those things? What will be the cause of Muslims, Roman Catholics, Africans, and there being legends about Christians in the region? What's the most likely cause for that? What's the first thing that pops into mind? If the first thing pops in your mind is that all of them colluded together from different periods, different people, they never contact each other, they all just some lying ass niggas. That's not a reasonable explanation, and so it's not a historical. It's not a conclusion to draw. It just doesn't follow. Now,
you say what was the reason for it?
What would be the reason? Yeah,
I would say based off of trade, and I would say it was very sporadic. And it would have been coastal, right? And just linked to trade. I would say that.
Well, yeah. Now, see, as Byron has heard me say before, I don't have an issue with it being trade. And I think as Susan Preston Blyer, right, as she said in her presentation, right, we can say that trade with places like where that we know that they did trade, right? And this is where some of the artifacts stuff tell us we know that they were doing trade and there were trade routes and stuff that went there, right? And so it makes sense that along common trade routes, stuff like that you would even have things like evangelists and stuff going there, right? And people who would come from one region might encounter someone who's, because they're going to Christian nations and kingdoms, stuff like that would spread. That makes sense. But what I was getting at there is that the most likely explanation is going to be that there must have been Christians in a region enough to be talked about. Now, to your last question that you asked, does this have some connection to and I don't, and I just want to say emphatically that my claim has never been like I've never argued and made the claim, period, ever in the years that I've been talking about this, that we had ancestors who arrived here on the boats as Christians or anything like that. That wasn't it. Yeah,
I got you.
And because we have the Arab expansion, right, that took place, and you have Arabs going into Africa.
They chased them out of there.
And so it makes perfect sense given what we know of Islam, right? It will be something that they would either get rid of or subjugate and all kinds of stuff. So it would make sense that's a continual practice. So on this point, I can speak for Byron because we've discussed this thing we've probably been discussing this topic for years now. I don't even know how long it's been at this point in time, but we've been discussing this stuff in sources and going over this stuff for years. So that's not the argument. The argument is just that pre-colonial West African Christianity existed, and then that the primary means for that getting to the region is going to be Native Africans, because they're the most likely people to know the route. We know that the Europeans, by their own the colonial European powers, by their own testimony, didn't penetrate the interior until the 19th century. So that means that they're off the table in its entirety for having spread Christianity there to the region. Okay, we know Christianity was in North Africa. We know that North Africa used to be part of the Roman Empire.
That's a different conversation right there.
Well, not necessarily, because I think our original conversation was over this being African, right? Now, again, we may misremember that. Like we may have.
I remember all the details. Matter of fact, I can run it back to you because I think it was an error. Hold on, it was an error, and you think that I was saying that Christianity was not part of African American culture. If I did say it, I must have misspoke. What I was saying was that Christianity wasn't part of indigenous African culture until people came in and gave it to it. It wasn't an indigenous religion. That's what I'm saying. Now we may have a different definition of what indigenous is. I'm saying sacrificing, not acting like you sacrifice something, but sacrificing, but and all that. We know that Christianity comes out of older tradition of people sacrificing. The Hebrews sacrificed. Sacrifice. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. So if you think that Ethiopian Christianity is indigenous, I'm saying nope. I'm saying it came by way of Syrian traders. They belong to the Orthodox Church. That's what I'm saying. And then they incorporate their ways and make up their different books that no African American will read. No African American Christian, even you as a Christian, you're not reading the nigga. How you say it, nigga? I can't even remember the damn word. You know what I'm saying? They have texts that we don't. I looked at some of the texts in the museum. We don't use that.
Yeah, well, see, but part of the thing is with that,
Why
and
not? Why not though? That's a good one. Why not though? You don't believe
well,
it's real?
well, no. So I think like when it comes to like a lot of Ethiopian texts, lots of their canonical development was actually really tied, and this is part of the reason why I object to your conclusion. It was tied very close to Judaism because of their proximity with them and because of their
Okay.
familiarity. Like we're thinking of Ethiopia, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
do think that's also missing is Coptic Christianity, right? Coptic Christianity, which was also a North African Christianity, right? And this is so this
Mm-hmm.
is where Byron and I would, and again, I speak for Byron, I think on this point that these two, like Coptic and Ethiopian Christianity, that these are some of the main vehicles, right? And I would also go Byzantine, right? Because we can see some of the Byzantine influences there in the region of West Africa. We can see that. So, so that these would be some of the main vehicles for Christianity getting into for getting into the region. But this would have been again by native Africans, not by colonial powers, especially considering that colonial powers didn't really exist at this time, especially not the European colonial powers that we're talking about. And so they wouldn't have been the people spreading Christianity there. You would have had people familiar with the trade, along trade routes, stuff like that, right? Who would have had enough familiarity to go back and forth between the regions. It would have been people, Africans, sharing things with other Africans. And so that seems like the most likely explanation for how Christianity got there, based on the evidence.
You saying got to West Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. So yeah, you would have to get, and there's said to be quote unquote proof that Nubians, okay, actually built some mud structures in places like what not Nigeria and all that. That's not verified, and we know there aren't any churches. Like, give me some churches,
Well,
right?
see,
Prior to
hold on,
that,
Dre.
see, you might have an issue.
you would have me with that. You would get me with that one. That would be a good one.
Can I add a point of correction for a moment? I'm watching the track.
Yeah, correct that point for me. Go ahead, correct that.
Well, earlier, just wanted to correct the thing about the Ethiopians. The Ethiopian, per their own tradition and heritage, they had Christians in their empire prior to Frumentius and his brother, who were the Syrians. They actually were not there as missionaries; they were there as slaves, as captured slaves. So they weren't there even as missionaries there. But they are, but before they came, there were already Christians in that empire for the Ethiopians' own historical tradition for themselves. What happens is that
No, say it again. Run it again. I'm getting mixed up. You said
in the Ethiopian empire, I know you
prior to
mentioned
Frumentius,
prior to Frumentius,
they're Christians there, but they're slaves. You said
no.
slaves.
Those two men were slaves. They were not missionaries. They were slaves. They were Christians.
They was traders. I would argue. I would argue that.
Well, then you have to argue with their
and I would bring some scholarly sources from Ethiopians too.
That's fine.
They were Syrian traders. But go ahead though. Go ahead, finish
that's
fine.
Go ahead. They were there nonetheless. They were slaves.
Yeah.
They were slaves there. Enslaved there. But according to Ethiopians' own tradition, they had Christians there before Frumentius. He did not bring Christianity to the Ethiopian proper. What he is credited for is that after he did go there, and after he had been a slave, and I think he had converted the son, King Zana, he actually went to the mother church on that side of the Nile Valley, which is the Coptic Church, who the Bishop of Alexandria, or the Pope of Alexandria, which was the infamous Athanasius. And Athanasius is the one who gives the charter, for lack of a better word, in the bishopric to Frumentius to be the first bishop proper of Ethiopia, so they can have a proper church.
Agreed.
So they can have a proper church. Not that they didn't have Christians or Christianity there prior to, but he was the first bishop, but his charge came from. So even within that story, as Frumentius being a Syrian, he gets his charge, he gets his mandate from the Coptic at Athanasius, who up until I want to say the 1900s, the Ethiopians had received all of their bishops from the Coptic Church, from the Mother Coptic Church. It's not until recently, until the 1900s, when Ethiopia became the Ethiopian Orthodox Church proper, as we understand it, Orthodox Tawahedo Church. They were before that they were called the
So you saying
Addis Abba
uh-huh.
diocese within the Catholic Church.
Real fast. So you saying that Prometheus is not the first church father of Ethiopia?
I
He's
didn't say
not.
that at all.
He's not. Okay. And it
I
connects
what?
to the hold on, and it connects to the
Hold
Orthodox
on,
Church, right?
because I want to be sure. Can you repeat what I actually stated though?
You did that same thing that seems to be occurring on a regular occurrence. And so the reason we got into the conversation was because I said African Americans did
Right?
not
No,
get Christianity from my hold on.
We slowing
And
down. We slowing
now
down though, brother, because I only got a little bit, and I just want to make sure that
I
you
know
were
you
able
said
to
I heard you.
comprehend.
Let me get it. I'm gonna shut it up.
But you said something
And you
incorrect
may
in repeating what I said.
no. You didn't say that, right? But I'm wondering why you said what you said, knowing that's you said he got all his charters from the Coptic church. But I'm saying, but let's be clear that he was the first church father of Ethiopia, and he connect them to the Orthodox Church. That so what's the purpose of keep saying the Coptic Church?
Because
Why are you saying that? How does that bring credence to it?
because he
Or
does
knock
not
away
get
that?
his bishopric. He does not get his charges without the Coptic Pope. Up until
That's
the
fine.
middle of the 1900s of
Uh-huh.
this era, the ADC era, the Ethiopian bishop who was over the church had to get ordained and consecrated by the Coptic Pope. They were not an autocephalous church. They were not. They only got the
Give me that. I don't
autocephalous.
understand the word.
Autocephalous,
You mean explain
self-governing,
that?
self-governing,
Okay, got you.
yes,
Yeah, if you
self-governing.
use it in a sentence, I would have been able to, I would understood it.
Well, if you
But
look
go
at
ahead.
it, if you just Google it, they're gonna say
That wasn't a
No, I
autocephalous.
don't gotta
sentence.
Google it. I'm good.
That wasn't
I'm
a
good.
sentence.
I got it.
So that's why I say that that's why they have it. Even today, they're the mother. They consider the Coptic Church still the mother church for the African churches of the East, and the Oriental Orthodox Communion
And
or the
so the
Standing
Catholic Church
Communion.
goes back to where?
According to them, they was established by John Mark.
John Mark. So they don't got nothing to do with the Orthodox Church. Nothing. Is that what
The
you're saying?
Coptic, they're called the Coptic Orthodox Church.
Mm, okay.
There's Eastern Orthodoxy, and then there's Oriental
Absolutely.
Orthodoxy. Then there's Oriental
Absolutely.
Orthodoxy. Oriental Orthodoxy is most prevalent in Africa and Asia.
Got you. So now, so that being said, the claim is, and y'all making a claim, that from that platform, okay, the Coptic Nubians went to West Africa and started Christianity in pre-colonial West Africa. That's prior to the 1400s. That's basically what we're saying here. And
Not
to a
alone,
degree
no.
where you would get folklore. Hold on. To the degree where you would generate folklore.
No, that's
Okay.
not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
You're saying. Okay. Right.
In the first few minutes of the video, what I stated is that you get it from three main sources. You get it from the North Africans, which we colloquially call the Berbers. You get it from the Coptic Nubians. You get it from the Copts. There also is a tradition.
Say it again. Say it again in the phone. Somebody cut my mic.
The North African Berbers.
North African Berbers. Absolutely. Go ahead.
The Coptic Nubians.
The Coptic Nubians.
And the Copts proper.
And the Copts.
Yeah. And then there's a fourth, smaller but still within their tradition, the Ethiopians making it into kind of that central West African region. But even without that, to be clear, it's not for a lack of not having the ability, because we know that Ethiopia had it present in Europe up until in and around the time of the Reformation. So we know that for it. It wasn't for a lack of inability to go northern or western. That's just where as far as the reach.
So yeah, we maybe tomorrow we'll get into what type of influence. Well, you know, I already said you ain't saying that no African Americans, that no enslaved Africa would have came over here. You said so. You left it on the shores. So then, but what I'm saying is, so then we should have never been arguing in the first place. Then.
Well, in the video, I actually addressed that. I said immediately.
No,
I
the
said,
video different. Nope. I'm talking about the argument here. How it started. Talking to him.
Now, honey, you still on the call?
Himmy. Was talking to him. There's two parts to it.
Yeah. I understand him, but I'm asking, honey.
Yeah,
honey, don't play with me like you don't hear me. No, I don't. Don't do this to me tonight.
Oh my God, what is this?
Honey, now, how do you remember us getting on West Africa?
Oh, I don't know about that shit. Man,
No. I think he was talking about it with Hemi, right?
Yeah, he was talking about. We was talking about with Hemi, right? But because so let me just say this: you and I don't remember the conversation getting to where it did the same way. So
yes, we do. No.
Okay.
Yes, we actually do. It started like you said. It's two parts to it. The first part is it started with what I think overinflated or misconstruing that I didn't recognize that Christianity was part of African American culture. I've never said that. So I understand it to be just that. My thing was it, and I'm still saying it, that it's not the original indigenous African belief system. It later on would become part of their traditions, and they would Africanize it. So and then we went on to the statement of, well, I say, Hemi, the only reason you're Christian is because of colonialism. Somebody was like, no, the people. That's how I remember it going.
Yeah, so I don't remember it going, but yeah, we
how
can
do you
leave
remember
that. I remember going this way.
I trust your memory. Go ahead.
That you said first. You told him not to quote a Bible verse. You said because that ain't got nothing to do with our culture. You saying got nothing to do with African American culture. Yeah. And then I said,
oh no, I ain't say that. That's crazy.
Well, like I said,
suicide statement.
You want on my account?
No, I'm just saying suicide statement. Yeah.
Yeah. So after you said that, and then I said yes, it is, and then you said that the Bible is not even about African Americans. You said it's not about Africans, right? And I said, you said it was about Jews. I said no. I said it's mostly about Jews. Crazy. I said, but not all of it's about Jews. I made reference to numerous theologians who've pointed out the fact. No one of them because there were numerous theologians who spent a bunch of time pointing out the fact that the Bible kept making reference to Ethiopia. One of the famous ones is Martin Luther. And that's why. So hang on, wait. Let me finish it. So and I talked about you saying had nothing to do with Africa, and you said had nothing to do with the people and their history or whatever. And I said, well, that's not true. I said Africa is that's your claim. That's what you said that day too.
It's not a claim. It's not a claim. It's not an actual claim. It's not a claim.
It is a claim.
It's not actually a claim. We can read the text.
Okay.
It takes you straight back to Adam and Eve.
Yeah, that's fine. So anyway,
what you mean that's fine? That's real.
Well, I know you're supposed to be letting me tell you my account.
Oh, go ahead.
So anyway, then we were talking about. You asked about like reference to Africa, and I said there's numerous references to Africa. I said like in Ethiopia was a whole region stuff over there, and then you said that the Africans had their own spiritual traditions and practice stuff over there. And then I was telling you, and what I said in response to that was that one of those was Christianity because it was there. And then you went back to what you said to Hemi, and you were talking about how they only got Christianity through force and colonization. And I said there was Christianity in pre-colonial West Africa, and so that was the journey from my memory that we took for how we got on.
Yeah, I said who got for? I didn't say all indigenous Africa got forced Christianity. I didn't say that. I'm talking about African Americans.
Well, again, if you say the Africans had their own, if you say the Africans had their own spiritual practices, I know, and that's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is, and then if you follow that up with saying that it only came by colonization and force, and I'm telling you that's not how they got it. And so the things we just
I said African American. You're talking African American. Now you talking about indigenous people?
Well, again, what you said is the Africans.
They got it. It's an outside. It's an out. Okay, let me now understand who I am talking to. Mm-hmm. It's an outside integration into African culture. It wasn't their creation. Mm-hmm. I will fight you till the cows come home on that. You know, if we just simply read the text, geography dispels that.
Well,
Listen. The Hebrew is not an indigenous African language.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Right? Okay. And so we must adhere
like it didn't come out of the ground.
People that spoke that. Right. It didn't come out of the ground. It came from people, and we know the area, and there's plenty of research on that. At a certain point, we have to. Let me finish. I'm just finished my point. I said at a certain point, we gotta listen to the daggone Bible. The whole story takes place in certain geographical regions, and we just need to adhere to that at a certain point. You know what I'm saying?
See, but that's what I'm saying. But that's a little different though than what we're talking about, and it's different than what you said originally. Because like for example, you and I remember we had a whole back and forth about the book of Zephaniah, because I was telling you, because you were saying that it's only to all Jews, and I was telling you that it's not. But again, the main point is that
no. I said that no. Listen. What I said was, I said the Bible was not. It was written by Hebrews. It's an ancestral shrine. That's what I'm saying. It connects Hebrews to their ancestors, to their great ancestors, to take them back to their great God. It's their culture, custom and traditions. It's their folklore, right?
Yeah.
It's their understanding the world through the eyes of those particular nomadic tribes, and how they fared against other peoples. It's not an ancestral shrine of indigenous African people. It absolutely is not. It does not take us back to certain creation stories that was created by indigenous people, and that's okay. So that's not even why I would even.
Though. Those are different points that you're making.
No, that is the point, though. That is my point.
No, so again, those are different points, because again, what we were just talking about just there is that, again, what you said originally before is that it's only to the Hebrew people, and that's why I brought up Zephaniah.
No, it gets expanded. Wait, whoa.
Well, Zephaniah.
I'm saying
and
5 books of Torah. Hold on. The first 5 books, the Torah, is written for the Hebrews.
Okay.
The 5 books of Moses. It's not written for anybody else. Yes, it mentions other people, but it's written for them and their guidelines and how they should worship.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm wrong?
Well, again, the problem is that the conversation that day wasn't limited to Torah. So even if I accept that as being true,
no,
the conversation that day wasn't limited to Torah.
No, I said that I was listen. Now I know I have to be very, very specific with you. I have not had that problem.
Remember, the conversation was about the Bible, not the Torah. That's what I'm saying. So the Torah is a fragment of the Bible.
Let's talk about but the reason I mentioned the Torah, because I said out of the Torah comes Christianity, because Christianity is actually a Jewish Hebrew sect, and then they broke away.
Yeah, that's fine.
But again,
but it would also include the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim, correct? And it would include the Nevi'im. Well, you told me you went to a Jewish school,
but I've never heard it said that way. I didn't say I went to a Jewish school. I said I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood.
Well, so
never said Nevi'im, Ketuvim, ever?
Yeah, so Nevi'im is the plural Hebrew form of the word prophet, right? And so it means prophets, and then Ketuvim is from the Hebrew word kotev, which means to write, and then you have the writing. So the Tanakh is Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, right? It's an amalgamation of those words. Yes, so Tanakh is Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. So Christianity grows out of not just the Torah; it grows out of also the Nevi'im, prophets, and then the Ketuvim, right? Again, the Hebrew word kotev, which means writing.
So Jewish traditions, yes. Go ahead.
But also it's going to be intertestamental Jewish literature, right? Which is where you get the bulk of the understandings about things that the Christians hold as the Trinity, right? And so the bulk of that stuff is going to come from either Old Testament or intertestamental Jewish literature, and that stuff rose out in the New Testament books and in the New Testament books respectively. And in the doctrine of the Trinity stuff that develops, and so no problem there. But like I said, the thing is, though, the conversation that day wasn't limited to the Torah. You told him not to quote the Bible, not the Torah, but the Bible. So and this is why the conversation wasn't about just the Torah; it's about the Bible.
Okay, so then the New Testament is for the whole world. It's based off the world they know.
It says in 28:19. I think that whole story. The whole section in 28:19, it says, it uses the phrases that the Jews would have known meant it. So when it says to all nations and even to the ends of the earth, right, those are phrases. And this is why I was arguing with you that day when you're saying that they didn't know the whole world, which is a separate thing from them still being told to go to the ends of the earth.
Ends of what earth? The earth that they know of. You can't go to the end of something you don't know exists.
No. See, the thing is, that's not the way that they knew, that they heard or understood in any of those words.
Yeah, but
we know how to use and understand. Yes,
hold on. I like that. No. I like the
statement. And I can tell you what the phrase meant.
No. I like the statement. And that's an arrogant ass motherfucking statement. That you would even remotely think that you could take your ancestral story and extend it to other people's. And I think that definitely was part of the conversation. I said, by whose authority?
Yeah, you say about whose authority, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. It's
right, which is a different conversation entirely, though.
That's another point. That's just part of the points. Part of the
well,
point.
I'm just saying it's not part of any of the points we were discussing.
Are we talking about the theological, about the historical? We
was kind of talking about both, and he was kind of giving me information to kind of make it a good determination between the two things.
Well, and nothing I said.
I appreciate that.
Now the thing is, I didn't give any theology whatsoever, and disrespectful. I didn't give any theology in that part of the conversation. We simply are going off of, and this is where Honey even came and said that question of authority. That's an irrelevant question to the topic. We're just asking about who it says it's addressed to. That's all. It's just,
you're talking about the New Testament, right? You're talking about the New Testament.
Right? Yes, when we're talking about it. So when I mentioned about Zephaniah, or when we mentioned about the New Testament, or you mentioned about anything else, it doesn't matter whether we think that it's legitimate, right? Like if somebody writes me a letter today and saying, like, you got to move out your house, whatever, they may have the authority to do so, but it doesn't change the fact that it's addressed to me. It doesn't matter.
I'm just gonna write you a letter, nigga.
I mean, it
man,
happens all the time. Like, you have illegitimate authorities all the time. You have illegitimate authorities all the time doing things, and so
we can agree that's an illegitimate authority. Then let's do that.
No.
I'm comfortable.
No, he just said that, but it was still addressed to it. Like, it was still, like, said to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, that's just like even in the Bible, when they're like telling people, "Hey, look, you got to get off this land. It's our land. Our God said that." Right. They like, not, who the hell are you? Yeah, it don't have to. The authority isn't there, but it still was addressed to them.
Which is saying crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's straight, and then add some colonialism to it. Yeah, oh my God! Then add colonialism to it. Then you got yourself. Then you got something cooking. Then you got intercontinental slavery.
So why does colonialism keep being added in there?
Because that's part of the whole deal. We can never leave out colonialism in Christianity. It'd be crazy. It's suicide. So
you see how like if we just covered like okay, so again, so the same question.
I jumped. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, yes. That's what I'm saying. So like if we go back
I understand. Go on.
Of expansion of Christianity like that, what colonial powers were backing them at that time? Like let's say the first 500 years. What colonial powers were backing them?
Well, you got Roman colonial power. They definitely was colonizers.
Yeah. So
you want to talk about that part of it?
And so prior to 323, so watch this. Let's take the first 323. Let's take the first 323 years of Christianity before you had before you had the peace of the church. Who was their backing at that? Well, okay, you believe the Roman Catholic Church existed at that point in time?
At 325, when they convened the first conference, I want to talk about that because that's when I'm saying I can verify that during the canonizing of the text, right?
When did the canonizing happen? What year?
It didn't happen in 325. They didn't even talk about the shit today. They was just dealing with the divinity of Christ.
Yeah,
they was arguing over Arianism.
That's what I'm saying. So before we get Nicaea, that's why I'm asking.
That they will be proceeding. That they start to, the canonize. Y'all, it. I had to look it up, but we do know that all involves the Catholic Church. That's all I'm saying.
Actually, historians actually would call that period the period of the Great Church. They wouldn't call it the Catholic Church. It's called the.
But it is though. Am I correct? Am I just tripping?
No, it's not. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Am I tripping?
Yeah, you tripping.
Because it seems to me that you're equating the group.
Yeah, your phone went out.
Reasons that would be
You said what?
That would be vastly incorrect.
I don't know. Yeah. I think I might want to argue that. I think the Catholic Church helped canonize the Bible. Start making books official to read in the church.
Now let me ask you this. I think the question: when you say Catholic Church, what do you mean? So we know.
I don't know anything past
Roman Catholic. I'm saying, but when we say Catholic, people
the Catholic Rome.
Byron and I.
Let's say Rome.
Okay, yes. Okay, cool. So Rome.
So how should I talk to y'all? Go ahead, because I know y'all got a certain way of scholarly conversation. And so I want to match with y'all because y'all might trick me. But y'all know damn well what I'm talking about. It ain't African.
No. So let me
canonizing the damn Bible.
Now that is a very interesting thing to
Yeah,
say. That's wrong. Now that's an interesting thing to say.
Wrong. Now Africans can't, and I ain't talking about the
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. No.
See, I got my pen off for this one. I got 5 more minutes.
Okay. Wait. So before I let that topic, right? Before I let topic, let me ask a question. I have 2 questions. One, what year was the Catholic Church starting to canonize the text?
Sure.
What year were they doing that? We're starting off right. Which were good for you.
Let's look it up. What year did the church, you say, start to canonize the Bible?
Do you put the church or the Catholic Church?
Yeah. Let's put Roman Catholic Church.
Because you said the Roman Catholic Church. So.
Yeah,
I'm not sure which one shall I use is talking to y'all. What would y'all say? What would y'all
the one that you stated.
Yeah.
Would y'all say the Roman Catholic Church?
Yeah. You said the Roman Catholic Church is the Catholic Church.
Would y'all use the word Catholic?
Consistent in what you're typing.
I said,
when did the Roman Catholic Church canonize its canon? You can type that in.
I can type it in. Let me see.
Yeah.
When did the what Catholic Church?
Yes.
All right. Canonize the Bible. All right. Yeah. So all right. So we all recognize when it's called that it didn't happen at once. It's say early Christian period, 2nd to 3rd century. Early Christian used Jewish scriptures. Okay.
Yeah. It's Romans 3. Yeah. The Jews were entrusted
Old
with
Testament,
the
often
with
in Greek Septuagint version. Septuagint. Yes, Septuagint version. Along with circulating Christian writings such as the Gospels, Paul's letters, and other apocalyptic. Am I saying the right words? To say, but there are no fixed New Testament canon yet. It says different communities read different books. For example, some use the Shepherds of Hermas or the Epistles of Barnabas, while others questioned relations. The 4th century, first major canonist was this. How you say the word? Athanasius of Alexandria.
Yes, that African.
Festal letter at 367 CE, the early surviving list, naming 27 books of the New Testament, exact as we have today. The regional synods in North Africa, Council of Hippo.
Now, wait, where were those?
It says
synods in where?
In North Africa.
Okay, so we got Africans. Okay, we covered that before. Go ahead.
It's a come on, yo. You know you got a lot of Greeks. We ain't gonna do it. We're gonna cut the heads.
Well, you said prior to.
Actually, there's a person that's presiding over that council. You're gonna see his name there.
Yeah, they're gonna have a. Yeah, okay, we can play that.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you a question.
I'm definitely aware of. Go ahead. What you want to say?
Yeah, no. I was gonna say Athanasius is from where?
It should be in Africa, right?
Yeah, so we've now listed like numerous Africans and African places.
Yeah, we're talking about like Greek. Come on, yo.
No. We're not talking about Greek. No, we're not talking about Greek anything. We're not talking about Greek anything. You're talking about Africans, right? And so this is why when you said before, we both raised an issue.
Athanasius is what? What is his ethnic background? What do you call him?
He's African.
He's indigenous Egyptian.
The man's an African. So when you said earlier that canon, right? That's wrong. This is wrong. There's a lot of Africans there, right? Which is why you talk about the North Africans. No, those are Africans.
Hold on for a second.
The Council of Carthage and Hippo, presided over by Saint Augustine, who's a Berber, indigenous.
Saint Augustine, African, ain't it?
African.
Yeah. Okay.
But what does it say when the Roman Catholic Church canonized their canon? It should say that.
Hold on. I think it was over a different period. It wasn't just one. Remember we was at?
Well, no, you said a canonization. Because you didn't have a canonization yet. You said they had to canonize it. When did the canonization?
You mean a full canonizing? It happened in steps. I was at the second and 3rd century, right? And then we move on to the 4th century, the major canon list, and we talk about Ananias, right? And then we talk about the Council of Hippo. Then the medieval Confirmation, the canon was generally stable and practiced by the 4th century. Through some debates continue over certain books. It was not until much later the church gave infallible. Am I saying that right? Dogmatic definition. The Council of Trent, 1546 CE, in response to the Protestant Reformation, which rejected. Go ahead.
So according to what you just read, when did the Roman Catholic Church officially canonize a canon of Scripture?
Well, they just was naming like the 27 books in the New Testament and three.
No, when did the Roman Catholic Church dogmatically, I mean, just officially canonize the canon of Scripture? You just said 15 what?
That's medieval confirmation. Am I saying that right?
The Council of Trent.
Debates continue. No, I didn't. It says shit. It was not until the Council of Trent. When did we say? Go back up.
When was dogmatically defined infallibly by the Roman Catholic Church? Yes, thank you.
What 330? Would you say?
She said
1546.
Yeah. You said
Council of Trent.
Yeah, the Bible. Yeah, the Council of Trent. Yeah, yep. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So is that when you guys are accepting 1546 at the time?
And decreed listed 46 books of the Old Testament.
But remember, in the earlier discussion, I think he was stating that when they were discussing canonization early on, and they officially canonized the Christian canon. And as you just read, the Roman Catholic Church officially canonized the canon in 1546. So that's a far difference from the first 300 years. It's definitely far difference from pre-Council of Nicaea of an official canon. Yes.
Yeah, so it's over a period of time. We know the canon came to be over a period of time, and it culminates, I believe, at the 1546 Catholic Church.
The Roman Catholic Church, right? And the Roman Catholic Church is the only church that follows that canon, not the Ethiopians, not the Coptics, not the Protestants.
This gets into the second question. This gets into the second question I was going to ask, right? This is the second question.
You're talking about the 72 books, am I correct?
That's the Roman.
For the Roman Catholics, yes, for the Roman Catholic canon, But this gets into this. This gets into the second question I was going to ask you.
So what we're saying? So hold on. So I'm writing that. Now whether they follow or not. Wait a minute. We just read that.
No,
you're not right. Let me explain.
How am I not right?
Because they canonized in 1546.
Okay,
that means that all the other traditions. So that means the Coptics had a canon already.
Hold on, B. Don't steal my thunder.
The Ethiopians had a canon.
No, I'm sorry. No, they ain't had no canon already. They ain't had these books already. The ones they had.
Well, see now, this gets into the second question I was going to ask you.
Oh, all right, yeah, go ahead.
If there are councils and things that exist,
I got 2 minutes left.
Right,
go ahead.
Yep, this is a 2-part question. First one is if there were councils and stuff that were existing before.
Yeah, it was.
That existed before 1546, and even that existed before 336, right? If there's councils that exist before then, what were they using to decide matters of doctrine? What were they using?
You mean what was they using? They say they was using what they was using what they had.
Yeah, so they were using
text.
So they were using like the Old Testament, New Testament.
They was using whatever they had, whatever that. And we went through with what they was reading. They was reading a lot of different things.
Yeah, but so if they're reading,
should be read.
Well, yeah. So and so here's the other thing: we have the writings of these people and what they were reading and what they were using, and so like we get, for example, 4 Gospels. We get statements, get quotations. So the New Testament itself is quoted and referenced, and there's statements made about it. So because here's one of the issues: the assumption I think all the time is that they didn't use these books as holy, right? Because canon just means to give like an official list.
It's the fit, right? Make it official. Yeah. We gotta have something.
But prior to that, well, and that's because, and then when you look at the history of why they came up with the canon list, it's not because they didn't know, and it's not because the books weren't already being used.
I didn't say that.
It's because I'm just covering the ground.
Like Barnabas, we're not reading the book of Barnabas.
Well, yes, and the thing is well, some people read the book of Barnabas, but the thing is that just because books are in circulation doesn't mean that their books were being used and read and the same reason in the same way for the same purposes. Because we can read the statements of the early Christian communities who were using these books, and so we know what they were. So, like when they went to go debate a topic very early on, or when they wanted to refute someone who they thought was a heretic, they used certain works, and you'll never guess what books they were using to do so. They were using the Old Testament that we have. They were using the New Testament that we have.
Okay.
So This didn't it didn't pop up for the first time at any of these councils. The church had already been using them. They were using them from the very first time that they were written down. The works themselves, as soon as they were written, they were copied and they were distributed all over, and they were distributed to the churches. At around the time of the 2nd century, forgeries and stuff started to come about, right?
No, even before they had forgeries in there, but they was allowed forgeries.
Okay, sure.
Am I correct? Hold on, am I correct in that? Am I correct?
No, you're not correct in that.
Yeah. They definitely had forgeries.
Okay.
And they didn't look at forgeries the same way we look at them today.
Yeah, okay.
I would say that. I would have to say that.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've done a little study on the canon and the books and the value and how they do it. And I do understand that forgeries was definitely a part of the whole piece.
Well, as I was saying, so the fact is that the books were in circulation and use from the time they left the pen of one of the people, whether we believe it or not. By the time they left the pen of the apostles, so as they were circulated, they were thought to be authoritative. And so as forgeries and stuff start coming about, then there's other works and stuff. They're saying, hey, well, what about this other work over here? And so they get together and they discuss. So at the time they get there to discuss, they say, this is our approved list. But prior to any discussion on them, prior to any councils coming together to talk about them, the books had already been in use and been in circulation and were viewed a certain way prior to. So it's not as if a canonization list establishes the authority of the books and works themselves. That is an ontological issue from the perspective of the church for who they come from. So the church mentioned who they come from. And so like for with respect to the Old Testament, the church came and they used, as you read from what you looked up, they were using the Old Testament. They were using the Old Testament because the Jews were using the Old Testament prior to. For the New Testament period, the churches hinged on the works of the people who they seen as apostles and leaders in their communities, and it hinged on those. If forgeries and stuff come about and questions come up as opposed to this book or this book and this book over here, then you have them saying, we're going to get together and we're going to discuss the list of the books that we trust and that we use in our liturgical services. And so that's what happens. But prior to 1546, prior to 336, the books had already been in use in the churches. We know they're read in churches. We know that they use it for doctrine, like that. We know that happened.
Yeah, and so let's get back on the Egyptian. The Egyptian wasn't it. That particular African was not.
Athanasius, you mean?
Yeah, he was not, and in no way, form, promoting an indigenous doctrine. He was promoting Christianity. And so, although you may want to use him as one of the very influential, he was doing what?
Are you saying indigenous from our time period now, or from his time period?
No, I'm just saying in this time period, just like Martin Luther King. I'm talking about Martin Luther King Jr. He's very influential in Christianity, but that still does not make Christianity an indigenous practice, an original indigenous practice. That's
what I'm asking.
Because that's actually my argument.
Yeah. So, and that's why, like I said, because I just want to be consistent with the definitions. So when you say indigenous, are you talking about, because from our perspective
voodoo, juju, all kind of shit that motherfucker just not going to do in Christianity ain't going to think you're a heathen.
Wait. Voodoo?
Yeah, voodoo.
Okay.
About to find people. Voodoo.
Okay.
Voodoo.
So if let's say if something has been practiced in a particular if something has been practiced in a particular region for a few thousand years, right? That's not indigenous to you? Like from our perspective, looking back, is that indigenous if it's been there for a few thousand years?
Well, shit, yeah. If you're gonna do it that way, few thousand. Well, hell, Christianity only 2,000 years old, yo. So
yeah, that's a few. Yeah, so a few thousand years. Yeah,
2,000 years. So you say
if it's been there for a few thousand years, I'm asking.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying
so just for Christianity, you said yes at first.
Hold on, no, because I'm thinking about no. For something to be indigenous, right? So people can move into an area, say migrate back into Africa, and they be there for a certain amount of time, but you got to practice the indigenous practices to be considered indigenous. So Christianity has never been an indigenous practice, regardless if the people that start to practice it. So no, it's an outside thing.
Okay.
So I would not consider it indigenous just because of the time. If you're there for a certain amount of time, you would have to adhere to the practices to be considered indigenous. That's how I learned it.
What was the conversation going on with vigilantes about and when you say did you have to adhere to indigenous practice? What do you mean by that? Can you be more specific? Like, are you saying like you can have Christianity, and if you merge it with
like African Americans been in America for how long, yo?
Since 15 something.
Right. Okay. So, but that wouldn't make us indigenous. We would have to practice the indigenous practices, right, of the indigenous people to amalgamate with them, and then we could be considered indigenous over time. So, so you have to practice the indigenous things that are indigenous to that land.
Why do you think that we're considered African Americans right now? Just as a political question, why do you think we're considered African American right now?
Because our ancestors come from Africa. We don't know the tribes.
And where does the American part come in now? Where's the American part come in?
Because we moved to, that's the area that we moved to. We moved to America.
Okay. Yeah. So us being born here, does that make us like native to the land?
No, it does not.
Okay.
We will not to the land. Nope.
Well, I disagree. I think from a legal perspective, but anyhow, we can move on because we're considered naturalized. We're considered naturalized. But anyway, but that's an aside. That's a longer political conversation. But let me just ask you.
You're stepping on somebody's toes when you do that. You know that, right? You definitely stepping on somebody's toes. I'm not gonna do it with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So just a curiosity, right? What if the early Christians, right? What if the early North African Christians took Christianity and then they expressed it in African ways? Would that make it indigenous?
Well, they would always do that. Matter of fact,
I'm just asking.
They're always doing that. Now, they always going to do that.
Does that make it indigenous?
No problem with that.
Does that make it indigenous?
No, that means they are mixing indigenous practices with non-indigenous practices.
Okay, because I thought you said before that if they don't if they want to be considered indigenous, they have to do the African cultural practices, because we know that they did. You know, there was a whole back and forth about.
They do both.
Okay. Yeah, so how many years is Christianity? How many years till you consider Christianity indigenous in Africa? Because 2,000 years is apparently not enough.
No, it'll never be indigenous to Africa. Christianity will never be, because then you can start saying, well, Christianity is indigenous to the Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, become and then you just make wild claims at that point.
So cool.
So that's doing too much.
Well, so let me ask you a question.
You wouldn't get up on a podium.
Are there roots outside of Egypt for like including in Mesopotamia and in Europe? Are there roots to Egyptian practices that don't originate in Egypt?
No,
you sure?
No. There are things that the Egyptians allowed deities in because they actually kind of respected outside people's beliefs, so they kind of let certain things in. But the foundation, the basis of Nile Valley culture is Nile Valley River culture. There are things that outsiders brought in, but there's no real definitive proof that the religious practices, there's certain religious practices were brought in. People were trying it for a long time.
Well, what if I told you now? I haven't watched the lecture, right? But I was just given a lecture earlier by some by some expert explaining that the practices of the Egyptians weren't that they're not indigenous to Egypt in the definition of indigenous that you're using. So it seems like if what this person, and I haven't heard the lecture. As a matter of fact, somebody dropped it earlier.
Send it to me. Yeah, that's a whole bunch of hogwash.
Yeah. Byron, who's that that was talking earlier? Because they sent it.
It's always going to do that. Well, from where? Just how they like to say, just say Mesopotamia. So now, and look.
Well, if it's outside of Egypt, right? If according to your definition, right? If what you're saying is true,
I'm standing strong on that. I'm standing strong on that.
Yeah, and so that would mean that
proven otherwise.
And you'd be willing to throw out, and just for clarity, if the Egyptian practices end up being of the same sort as Christianity is in Africa, right, to where it doesn't originate. If there's any part of it that doesn't originate there, you would say, okay, cool, then it's not indigenous.
Well, I will definitely reevaluate my position. I'm the guy that will at all times reevaluate my position. See, that's the difference in who I am. Right? And anybody really take the time like right now and have a non-hollow conversation, you will recognize that in me. I don't have a problem with changing my position on anything I've learned. But I find other people have a hard time of doing the same. That's
as a matter of fact, that it was A1 I was talking to. Let me see, because he dropped the person's name and he dropped the actual lecture. Hang on, let me see. Let me find the lecture.
All right, let me see that. Let me look at that. Let me see what they're doing.
I'm gonna drop the link he gave me. Like I said, I haven't watched it yet. But apparently it's by Shomar Omar Yahya. He has the origins of early Egypt, and it says Asian, European, or African. There's a colon after it. I'm gonna drop it again. I haven't watched it, but A1 says that this saved him from going. I'm dropping the link right now. I just went and grabbed it out of the other one because he just gave it to me. Let me see. Yep. And so yeah, I'm interested. I don't know if we persuaded about this, but I mean, if he ends up being correct, and I did look at his credentials. I did look up his credentials. He is an actual scholar.
I see it.
Yeah, but so I looked up other published work. He's a legit research associate.
At Cambridge.
So
that's
yeah,
legit. I'm watching all things Cambridge.
Yep. So if he's correct on that, by your definition of indigenous, the Egyptian spiritual tradition would not be indigenous to Africa.
Yeah, but I never do the one scholar thing, yo. You never do that.
Well, again, what I said is if he's correct, because by your criteria, by your criteria, he if what his contention, as A1 has explained, like I haven't watched, but as A1 explained it, if that's true, if that claim is true,
I'm just gonna call him up on the phone. Dr. Cater. Yeah, I'm just gonna call him up and ask him what
it's all good.
Let's do that. How about let's do that? Matter of fact, the next time I bring him on, I'm gonna ask him that very question. I've seen this lecture. He's not saying that.
Well, that's like I said, I haven't watched it, so
that's
what I'm transparent. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, that's the big dog right there. I tell you what he did.
He did to me last night.
I tell you what he did do for me though. He broke me out of the Black Egypt. He definitely got me on that one.
Yeah, that's how A1 started the conversation. He was
I got knocked out. I was mad as shit at the man for a while. I was like, what? This was about maybe 14, 15 years ago. And the whole Black Egypt shit. And he just made me recognize that based off of evolution, there's no one way to be African. No more different than in Asia. You got people from the Caucasus Mountains. You got people from the subcontinent of India. You got people from China. They're all Asians, but they don't look alike. So there's no one way to be Asian. And that got me. That made me change my position. Yep, it got me.
Well, I like I said, I've never watched this lecture. This
this is a good one. That's dope. That's serious. That's serious work. Yep, I got him on my channel. If you check my channel, I got him on my channel.
Now, here's the thing though. So now, given what the title is, and again, I'm a little slow, but given what the title is, it makes reference to three different regions, respectively.
It's a question mark.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
is it Asian?
He seems to be discussing it though. He seemed to be discussing either that is African.
Let me put that title on. That's not that man title. I can actually get to the notes that he actually did the lecture on. That nigga. That's just a YouTuber putting the title on that motherfucker.
Fair enough. Yeah. Send me what the actual thing was. Does he have a paper that was attached to this?
Yeah, he got nothing but scholarly work. That's some Decatur, yo. He got all kind of shit. What you need? I got you.
Well, I'm just like I said. I was just trying to see.
Yes, he did. Look up. Go to a Google Scholar.
Okay.
Go to Google Scholar and type in Shamaka Cater, and a lot of his work is gonna come up right there. Got a lot of work from Cambridge. Serious dude, man.
Hey, Byron.
Yeah, you done got me past my. It's 11 o'clock, man. I'm getting all this, man. I enjoyed the conversation. First time we had a conversation.
It's all good, man. Well, it's not the first time we had a couple on Paradigm Shift, but yeah.
Not without acting a fool.
The second time we didn't act a fool at all.
All right. Well, okay. Let's not go backwards. How about that?
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay. All right. Now, see, there's room to learn from each other at that point. See. I'd be surprised if you can learn from a YouTuber. All YouTubers are created the same.
Yeah, appreciate the conversation, brother.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro. It's all great.
Mm-hmm. Where's Tiff at? The face that launched 1,000 ships. Where's she at?
Oh man, the face that launched 1,000 ships. Yeah, she gone. All right, I'm out.
All right. Now, honey, you must have lost your mind. Listen, what I learned. Just don't play games with me. Yeah. Anyway, hey, B Wash, man. B Wash probably got something going on in the background. But listen. Okay. Yeah. So, what y'all think? Honey, come off mute. Stop playing with me.
Was there supposed to be a debate between y'all?
If he apparently he wanted to discuss the West African Christianity thing again, we were able to have a polite conversation about it where everyone was able to talk and get everything out. So that went well.
Yeah. I think he learned a lot.
Well, now, like I said, I do think, and it's why I wanted to go through. I think at the beginning, some of the considerations with this dealing with and discussing a history topic, right? And like I said, because I think when he was discussing, like, he knows he has a friend who said he knows Arabic, right? Um, you know, when we're discussing the issue of like using secondary sources, scholars and experts and stuff like that, right? Um, we want to make sure that we have someone who's legit, and I think, like I said, just part of it is bringing that, is making sure that we circle back to something like that. So yeah, so I mean, like that I think just as I'm recounting the conversation in my mind, it was pivotal with asking, okay, so like from a credibility standpoint, like which one of these people, like who should we be looking to? Who do you think? Um, you know, a lot of people, I think, they may not like Dr. Vince Bantu, but you look at the brother's curriculum vitae, and it's going to be hard to just dismiss them, and dismiss his conclusions and stuff. His curriculum vitae is like, it's like a 2-page long thing of education. So, um, you you just it's just you can't just do it easily.
Yeah, that's all he did. My bad. I'm free. I got the free time. That's all he did. That's I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Ben Bantu, that seemed like he does nothing but like go to school. 24/7.
I wanted to say this. Scholars like Johnny Beatty, for example, stating that Christianity is as an indigenous African religion for a number of reasons. Mainly because I also, was listening. That would be a false comparison saying be indigenous in the Amazon, because if you ask somebody how old is Christianity proper, they're going to tell you 2,000 years. Next question: how long has Christianity been in Africa? They're going to say that 2,000 years. Like, you only
so from its
maybe got
inception,
a couple of decades of different, and I mean a couple at best.
At best it's a couple decades.
Yeah, a difference between Christianity and.
Are we being specific to West Africa, or are y'all still talking about Egypt and shit?
Well, no. Well, because it's not just Egypt, but again, the conversation was about Africa, right? It as you go further in the conversation, because people don't usually like that you're going to call it African, right? Because usually the conversation starts with African, and especially where people who are fans of like Egypt, they don't want to. It would be kind of weird for them to want it to be West African when the Kemetic practices are not West African, right? So most of the people who we end up conversations with, they want to talk about it being African, and then when you mention like the very verifiable fact that that's not in dispute, period, is that Christianity has been in Africa since its inception, right? And then the conversation turns to, well, is it West African? Well, that's fine. It being West African would have come a couple centuries later, but you're still a very close to 2,000 years that has been there. Let's say we put it at 1,700 years, right? It's not that much of a difference. So that's, what I'm saying. It's like we need to discuss, like the fact that it's been there so long.
and that's not even into the
You
theology.
claiming that it's been there like consistently this long?
No. Like we explained just a second ago, you have Muslims and stuff who went there in the region, right? And so we know that Arab expansion stuff like that happened. So no, not a statement that has been there consistently. Certainly not my position, at least, that's been there consistently.
Okay.
But that again, but it's been in Africa as a whole. Has been Africa as a whole for a few thousand years. So to say it's not African would be inaccurate,
right? So
yes, it is a continent, and that's why the overbroad claim that you made originally that it's not African is the problem.
It's not African.
I wanted to unmute
just because it was
and ask
in
a
Africa.
question.
What?
What'd you say?
No, I said I wanted to unmute and ask a question. How early into like the first, second, third, whichever you say, century would you say Christianity got into Africa?
Yeah, so yeah. So it's gonna be first century. As a matter of fact, if you
don't make it up in
type
the
in
New Testament.
It's in the New Testament. I know.
Yeah, it's in the New Testament, right? And it, like if you there's a BBC article on this, right, that I read, I don't know, probably a decade ago, but I believe it's still up, right? If you ask about Christianity being, being in Africa, it's going to tell you that it was there from the first century, and then it started spreading elsewhere in Africa by the second century. And that's what the BBC article is going to say about how Christianity spread across Africa. But so yeah, it's you can't say it's not African. You just can't. You can't try to convince me that what happened.
You saying it's in Africa is making it because that's like saying Christianity is American because it's in America.
Well, no, it would be like since it became its inception, since it was born. How long since it was born has it been in Africa?
Well, no, because when I was talking about hoodoo, y'all had a different stance on this.
Nope.
You did.
Nope.
Brian, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Because you asked the question of origins, which is a separate. The question you asked was of origins.
That's wild. Right? I know. I don't have nothing else to say. Go ahead and answer him.
Well, you didn't ask the question about origins because specifically it's on tape.
Go ahead and talk to him.
Nah, honey, we finna fight because listen.
We not about to fight because you're gonna go ahead and answer that man. I'm done talking to y'all.
No. Look, honey, don't make me play the tape.
Bet the bar, but
honey, the question you asked is about origins.
If you ask
where Christianity originated, no, we're not gonna.
Right? You're saying from inception is this from inception of hoodoo where it's been.
Well, again, you asked the question about origins. Yeah, okay, honey, listen. If you were to ask us where Christianity originated, no one on the call is going to say Africa. No one on the call is going to say Africa. We're going to talk about. So first, you still recording, right?
Origin, though, that would be Jerusalem.
Yes, we're still recording.
Okay, so
Leondre, would we agree on that?
Yes, we would. Yep. We would agree on that. That's going to be the origins because that's where it came from.
Mm-hmm. So it's not African.
In origin, are you asking?
No, period. It's not African.
No, because again, that's a separate question, and there's a.
How is that a separate question?
It's because the question we're talking about when you talk about we were talking about whether it's indigenous, and we're saying that the time period length has been there. It's an indigenous religion in the same way that we would talk about Kemetic spiritual practice. That's indigenous to Egypt. Okay,
yeah,
you're not even letting me finish.
Indigenous to Egypt.
Well, except for we know, even without respect to that scholarship was quoted, I could say the same thing about Roman religion and practice. Even though we know they borrowed heavily from the Etruscans, from the Greeks, and so on and so forth, I would call it the Roman religion.
Honey, can I ask a question? Would Islam be indigenous to Africa?
Islam? I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
Why would it be that? It's not Africa. Is it
Africa?
A
lot of North African countries that have been Arabized, post that Islamic expansion. But I was just asking, and it's been there for a long time by this point.
Mike, if you ask me, I would say no.
Yeah, and I would agree too, Byron. I would agree.
Yeah, I would say Islam, no. Because you had to import people and their culture and their language into Africa.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
But Mike, what was your question earlier?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, based on like a Alexandrian manuscript tradition, wouldn't that mean that Christianity had to expand into Africa?
Yep.
You bring a very interesting point.
Okay, I was just asking.
That's a very interesting point. I had thought of that one. That's a good one. I'm gonna use that one and give you no credit for it.
Hey, Mike and Dre, what was the Septuagint written at?
That was written in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, the Septuagint was written in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another interesting point. I'm gonna use that one and also give you no credit for it. Yeah, that's a very, very good point. But that's, it's like Africans had nothing to do with a canon. Okay, and then and then we're reading off the Google results, and then we start reading North African Synods, and we read Athanasius.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was gonna be my other point when it comes to the indigenous part. We talk about like the earliest extant canon list, the arguments of orthodoxy as we know it, even the coinage of the term Trinity in its first Orthodox articulation, the defense.
African.
All of it, yeah.
So the very thing that people like get mad about Christianity, about with the Trinity, I'm like, yo, blame the Africans because they're the ones that articulated and defended it to death.
Now, I do just want to raise a point here because I know because Honey hates Pan-Africans. Honey, we still are not Pan-Africans, nor have we articulated anything that Pan-Africans will favor. I just want to point that out. That's not what any of the conclusion of any of this stuff is. So I know you have a sensitivity to that thing. That is certainly not my position. I'm not a Pan-African. It is just to say that in respect to these issues, that there was African input on like, especially like we're talking about like the canon, and we're talking about like especially like major doctrinal points where you had like the Africans were the ones holding to the faith when the Europeans had turned from it, like the major European powers had departed from it. So yeah.
Yep.
So anywho, anyway, honey, but yeah, what'd you think? How'd you think there goes Tiff. Tiff, you responsible for all of it and then jumped off. What's going on?
Look at you guys being all nice and
responsible
stuff.
for all of
Don't
it.
you ever say that I was.
That was today. I didn't even go live. I just recorded it because I didn't know how the fuck it was gonna go.
No, so why wouldn't you just let it go where it's
right.
gonna go?
I just recorded it like, you know what? I'm not gonna go live when we having to take shit down and shit like that.
You can't be cussing in like the beginning of a YouTube video.
Okay, honey, can you tell me now and don't lie either. He said we can learn from each other and you can learn a lot from YouTuber. What do you think I learned from him in that conversation? And don't lie.
Well, first of all, he wasn't trying to teach you anything in that conversation.
No. He said we can learn a lot from each
other.
Yes,
he did, but he didn't try to teach you anything.
No, okay, good. So just for the record.
So whether you can learn or not, you wouldn't know if he's not trying to teach you.
No. I'm not asking what I could learn. I'm asking what do you think I learned?
We don't know because he didn't try to teach you anything.
Good. So you're conceding that you don't think I learned anything.
No, I didn't. I'm not conceding. I'm saying he didn't try.
Honey, can I ask a question? Was it odd to you that it took him a long time to get to that 1946 date? That was quite easily Googleable. Seems odd to me because I'm like he was like, what is it?
He was like, Byron, I was sitting here on mute and I was like, you could go two ways: Council of Florence and Council of Trent. Come on, bro.
Now,
well, he said Council of Trent. He's like, well, what was that date? Eventually, he was like, no, he said Council of Trent, but then he was like, well, what was the date on that? And it was like, he was like, oh, wait, let me go back and.
No, honey, because prior to that, he read through a whole bunch of stuff. He talked about he talked about 336, Council of Carthage. Yeah, so here's the issue, right? And I never understand this. Why does everyone legitimize the Catholic statements about them being the original church? I never understand it. It's just not true. It's not No, it's not true. The Catholics are going to claim Peter was their first pope and have a successive line of popes, right? That everyone submitted to and followed, and all the popes were in Rome, and everything that they said, they governed everything, right? And it's not true. It's just not true. It's the same thing like when Muslims start talking about their history. It's false. It's just made up. You just made it up. You made it up to legitimize yourself and your leader at a certain point in time. So what people usually do is they blame the Roman Catholics for everything, right? And I don't like the Roman Catholics. It's just we don't need to lie on them or lie for them.
You guys are just like, that's your belief.
But honey, you didn't answer my question. Why you think why do you think he struggled to get to that date though? Until you get,
I don't know. What's wrong with the date? What's wrong with the date? Like, what's going on with that date? I mean, it would be a nice date though. Because it'll give you a nice time to go to. That's all I've been waiting on from you guys. Like, y'all keep on arguing and shit, but where can we get a time fucking so that we can know what the hell we're talking about when we're researching this shit?
Well, no, because the person making the statement, they need to tell us this stuff. That's what I'm saying.
He said the canonization. The earth.
No, the claims that were made, because it's like, okay, when he's like, well, honey, why am I not on this research shit, right? And I'm like, well, I thought it was a personal problem between y'all. So I just let y'all go ahead. I can go research it and find out my own conclusions. Fine.
I mean, what's your degree in?
I have to understand. What do you think?
I don't know. What is it? Well, I would hope not, because my
business.
Pan-African studies.
Business management. I would never be in
business.
Pan-African studies? Please.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Absolutely not. I did take an African American history class, though. It was pretty cool. I learned a lot of stuff. I unlearned a lot of stuff, I'll say.
Hey, can I check? Do you think someone with an associate's degree is qualified to be a elementary and junior high teacher across the country?
And today, the way that they do it now, anybody can, because they just give you the shit.
Well, not in California, right?
With a associate's degree?
They do. They just be like hand you to you and be like, this is what you're teaching this week and shit. Well, depending on what school you go to, because I told you I went to a private all-girls school, and we had to we sat out our history class until they added Africa into it. Because our history teacher,
and someone with only an associate's degree, are they qualified to be a K through 12 teacher?
K through 12, maybe 6.
Not a substitute.
No, I think you need a bachelor's degree, don't you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You do need one, but he said qualified to. But I'm like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Qualified to.
Do it K through 6.
Not out here. You listen. You can't.
No, I'm saying I don't care what they tell you that you have to have. I'm saying.
That's what I mean. I say qualified. Do it. I mean, in order to be hired, like full time as a teacher.
Oh yeah, apparently, yeah, you're supposed to have a bachelor's. You gotta have a bachelor's degree to be a librarian, which I thought was really wild.
Y'all tell Sabio that, please, when y'all talk to him.
Huh?
Can y'all please tell Sabio when y'all talk to him again?
What?
Well, he told us that he's qualified to teach K through 12 with an associate's degree.
Provisionally, he can get 1 year, 1 or 2 years, as long as he's.
Used to call him a fucking, what did he say, that he cut grass? Because he said that he was a landscaper. He was like, you went to school and you cut grass for a living. I'm like, oh God, please, man.
Well, he told us that he's qualified to teach at any school in the country.
Associate's degree in what?
In
according to him,
you can do it in preschool,
but it's not offered. But it's not offered at the community college where he went. Where he says his degree is not offered at the community college.
Studies.
Africana studies.
What the fuck would he be teaching?
Exactly. So nobody knows what he would be teaching. But here's the other issue. He told me after that. He said, I have my associate degrees in Africana studies, right? And then he said,
I don't got time for him, bro.
Look, y'all not letting me finish, man. Y'all being rude. Listen, okay? Please let me finish. I'm asking y'all. Y'all being rude. I got my associate degree in Africana studies, and then I went to school for some years after that to add to my degree. I said, what?
Oh my God.
He said, I am a scholar, actually. I said, you huh? But he now listen. Now, what do you usually do? What do you do to add to an associate's degree? Like, what do you go back to community college for years? How do you add to your associate's degree for a few? I swear to God, the man said he went to
bachelor's. Like he decided.
No, he went back to community college.
How do you can't get plus credits for an associate's game? Like sometimes people go back and they get like extra credits on that shit, but then they'll end up getting another degree because they're getting the credits towards something.
Yeah, so if you go back to community college for 2 years, for a few years after that, as he said, to add to your associate's degree, I'm like, bro, what the hell are you talking about?
But why would you add to it that? Okay.
We the champions, trailblaze no missing. Speak facts, let the world stop and listen. Barbarian swing, every point hit the mark. Cut through the noise like flames in the dark. We the champions, ain't no retreat. Feel sharp and steel, every word, every beat. On the mic or the stage, we control the game. Barbarian debate, yeah, they remember the name. Paint the battlefield vivid, every lyric's a stroke. Turn your whole team to ghosts when the truth is provoked. Bar for bar, I'm a titan, got the heavies in awe. Lines heavy as Atlas, hold the world in my claws. I see life through the prism, talking dark in the light. From the dirt to the throne, every wrong made right. Barbarian minds, they got the truth in my veins. They talk heat, but they fire don't match my flame. Flip the map, global presence, I'm a legend in time. They clock out, I clock in, redefining the grind. Cutting lies like confetti, watch the fall of the sea. Barbarians hold the key, now they ain't safe in these streets. We the champions, trailblaze no missing. Speak facts, let the world stop and listen. Barbarian swing, every point hit the mark. Cut through the noise like flames in the dark. We the champions, ain't no retreat. Feel sharp and steel, every word, every beat. On the mic or the stage, we control the game. Barbarian debate, yeah, they remember the name.
Correcting pseudos is fun, it's like right in the wrong. Honey, death toll is large from me collecting the pawns. We keep their heads on the wall and bring them back just for fun. Barbarians is lurking, but really what can be done? Meta AI is no match, you better read more than that. We redefining the game, and you lame just to blame. If you wanna play, set it up. We set the bar, you ain't tough. Step in the ring, oh you must. Don't waste our time with the fuss. I tip my hat cause you brave, and you the next one we claim. We toast to drink to your name, and then we spark up the flame. I don't care if it's one or two. No, they back by the whole crew. Don't bother running. Once we come in, we gonna collect you.
We the champions, trailblaze no missing. Speak facts, let the world stop and listen. Barbarian swing, every point hit the mark. Cut through the noise like flames in the dark. We the champions, ain't no retreat. Feel sharp and steel, every word, every beat. On the mic or the stage, we control the game. Barbarian debate, yeah, they